Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about Markus Wulfhart, the Master Hunter and probably the best legendary lord of the Empire to actually play right now. Not the strongest. Volkmar, especially in a long campaign, can be significantly stronger than Markus Wulfhart, and Wulfhart does have some fairly annoying campaign mechanics to deal with as well, but he does have a very substantial amount of strength. When you're looking at his faction effects, you may not realize what the huge level of potential that he does have, but let's first consider his lord effects. He gets a minus 50% upkeep for archers and huntsmen. He has a huge ambush success chance and defense chance of 50%. This guy might just be the best ambusher in the entire freaking game if you do get an ambush done. And the thing is, with his army of archers and huntsmen, he will excel at decimating armies with ambush, in an ambush. So he's really good from that particular perspective. He gets a further minus 15% upkeep for huntsmen and archers, so you're looking at minus 65% upkeep for archers and huntsmen in his army. He also buffs their missile strength by 10%, and also he can get double shot for huntsman units in his army. Vanguard deployment, immune to psychology, casualty replenishment, campaign movement range. He really does have a significant level of strength in his campaign just through his lord effects alone. Now, what's also interesting is that he can take the jungle, he can take the savannah, and he can take Temperate Island. He is not going to do well if you're going to try and take him back to the Empire, but Markus Wulfhart and his campaign are all about playing around the world, on going on a world tour, so to speak. And oh boy, will it be a world tour in this particular campaign in more ways than one. One of the key benefits that Markus Wulfhart does have in his campaign is the fact that he gets reinforcements, imperial supplies from the Empire. Now, these reinforcements are ridiculously strong and very easy to acquire in a campaign. It's because of the map design of Immortal Empires that will favor you getting reinforcements, getting imperial supplies very, very quickly during the course of any campaign. So that is one of the things that Markus Wulfhart can and does have access to. And with those reinforcements, you end up with, realistically, one of the stronger armies that is actually available early on in a campaign around here. And that isn't an exaggeration or a joke of any kind of description, actually. Is, simply put, a real hard fact. That you will have a significant level of strength. You can use that strength. So for instance, over here at turn 18 in this campaign, I've only gotten 2 sets of supplies, but one of those sets of supplies granted me some outriders with grenade launchers and a cannon that I put in my secondary army. Then I got more grenade launchers, a Hellstorm rocket battery, and another great cannon. Having free artillery units at turn 18 as a race that doesn't have access to tier 2 artillery in general is a significant boon. Like, one of the problems with the Empire with all the other Imperial campaigns is this. You're in this kind of situation where in a lot of Imperial campaigns where by the time you actually get reliable access to artillery, the campaign is effectively over. Whereas if you're playing a campaign as Markus Wulfhart, you will get access to artillery fairly quickly during the course of that campaign, and you will be able to utilize it pretty well at the same time. So having that kind of level of power is really, really going to help you out, because it will give you an edge that you would need against the factions that you're going to be dealing with. And that's just the first benefit that he does have access, or one of the biggest benefits that you do have access to in a campaign. There's more benefits that you can get access to, but one of those benefits, of course, being the heroes. They're not legendary heroes. I would not qualify these hunters as legendary heroes, but they are named heroes. They're special kind of heroes in a campaign that can get some very significant traits. So they're obviously better than regular heroes might be in a campaign. Undeniably so, I would argue. And that these heroes can grant you a significant level of power, even if it does take a while to actually get them and to unlock their full potential. And the objectives to unlock their full potential can also admittedly be a bit annoying to do so. No doubt about it. But there is a level of power there that very few other campaigns and very few other Legendary Lords do have access to. And it's not something to be ignored during the course of a campaign. Now, let me talk about how you should play this campaign, because there's multiple ways. You could ignore the North and let Jan Bo deal with all of that, but you do need to wipe out Hexoatl, and if you're hoping Jan Bo will defeat Hexoatl, be prepared to be disappointed is all I'm going to say on that particular subject, because it likely will not be happening, I think. No, your best bet in this particular campaign is to go march as quickly as possible north. Alright, so we can get diverted supply, heightened tensions, diverted supplies. Okay, so let's go with Aslan, send some food to Aslan.
Wulfhart. Markus, Wulfhart. I smell a trap. To the fray!
And get access to these ogres. Now, it's kind of annoying, in point of fact, when we're thinking about this, because what's annoying here is that these new world colonies, they're Estonian. So they're not actually part of the Empire. You can't confederate them. You do start with a good diplomatic deal with them, but you're not in a possibility of actually confederating them, which is pretty annoying, I gotta admit. Because you might be tempted to make an alliance with them, when in reality you want to wipe them up. But you do start an aggression pact with them, so that's just gonna ruin, put a wrench in the any kind of plan to make war on them. Ruin any kind of possibility of waging war over there.
Spirit, bring death.
So instead, you're probably better off trying to... Well, I'm not quite sure really. You might be better off just trying to just take this territory as quickly as possible and then sail back south to deal with other things. But there's a major annoyance in this campaign that other Imperial campaigns don't have to deal with. And that is the issue of control. Oh yes, control. Control is a plague on many campaigns, but for Markus Wulfhart, control is freaking annoyance to say the least. The reason it's such an annoying thing to manage, the reason it's such an annoying thing to actually manage in a campaign is the fact that you get, if you're playing a legendary, right, and you're not using any mods, you get minus 8 control just because you're playing on that difficulty. With high hostility, you even get minus 5 control. So you're playing in a campaign, and this is where it's freaking frustrating to expand, because you have powerful armies. You have those heroes. You can get more regular heroes in your campaign, and you'll eventually unlock the entire unit roster of the Empire. That is not the problem. The problem is that you're going to constantly face a string of rebellions that you have no way of stopping completely just because you're playing a minus 13 control, assuming you're playing on Legendary. Use mods to improve that situation. There are various mods. There's mods that give you a benefit in your campaign when you're dealing with a high level of hostility. But the more territory you conquer, the more the locals are going to turn against you, and there's no way of stopping this. At least the army that will spawn will be aimed at your capitals. I suppose that's a silver lining in all of this. But it's still a pretty annoying situation. What's also annoying is that the way the campaigns are designed, you're kind of competing for the same areas with either Jan Bo or with Alberic. Or both, actually. Both. And that really ends up being a fairly frustrating experience, because it's one thing when you're dealing with a faction and they're your natural foes, but what's not great is when a faction is actually friendly towards you and yet you still want to wipe them out because they have territory. Like, Alberic actually does have a good amount of territory that you do want. Jan Bo, with Jan Bo, you're deliberately going after the same kind of territory. So you end up being frustrated during a campaign experience as Markus Wulfhart just because of the territorial control issues that you will certainly experience during the course of any campaign as him. Like it is an issue for Jan Bo to deal with. I feel there's too many legendary lords competing for the same territory very quickly, and the problem is these are friendly legendary lords, and this actually limits the AI potential for Jan Bo, Markus Wulfhart, and Albrecht to some extent, unless they go to war with each other, which honestly feels silly, just as silly as, like, say, you know, Tyrion and Alariel conquering Safari in every campaign because that's the best plan in their campaign. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Or if you're playing Karl Franz conquering Nuln because it gives you artillery recruitment at tier 3. You know, if there's anything I want to change about that, how about just, like, not having those kind of silly campaign dynamics where you're fighting wars against the faction, your own freaking race from the very beginning? I mean, a war against your own race should be a rare thing indeed. Yeah, this army is not going to win. I mean, it would do some damage, but hey, Hellstorms, right? I'm just going to say that. Marauder champions. Skeggy is a pain in the neck, by the way. If you want any advice in regards to Skeggy, you might just want to leave Mazamundi do some damage here. I eliminated Mazamundi too quickly for him to be able to do damage to Skeggy. Like, you may want to leave him to do damage before you start the war with him, but you're kind of racing against Jan Bo at the same time as well, so that's not really going to be that great to tackle either during the course of a campaign. But hey, at least you get the Imperial supplies, right? And you get them relatively quickly during the course of a campaign. And that can end up being pretty sweet to actually have. And hey, Jan Bo does start expanding across certain territories over here, and he may end up being particularly useful. Like if he has that tendency of going to war. And yes, artillery master. You know, forget Gelt and his so-called awesome artillery. Markus Wulfhart is the true master of artillery, just because he can actually freaking get it. Like, you'll reach a point in your campaign where you may not even care too much about all of the artillery units that you're getting, because why would you bother in a campaign? So those are some of the things to take into consideration over here when you're playing a campaign as Markus Wulfhart. It's a frustrating mechanic that increases the enemy leadership, increases their weapon strength, increases their freaking and decreases and has a massive penalty on your own on yourself when you are playing this campaign. Let alone the fact that your diplomacy with the Lizardmen is actually going to end up incredibly limited because of various issues. You do at least have Albrecht to protect your southern flank, but really protecting against what? There's only minor demonic factions and Luthor Harkon over there. It's like, protect me against what? I understand they were trying to make Albrecht a bit better, but like, just throwing Albrecht right next door to Markus Wulfhart and throwing Jan Bo right next door to them is maybe not the most intelligent decision that Creative Assembly has ever made in terms of their map design of Immortal Empires. Just gonna have to say it. It kind of ends up actually being terrible. So that's one of the things I would change. I would remove, or at least give the player to remove give the player the ability to remove the hostility meter. Like, and when I say remove it, I mean do so early, relatively early in a campaign, because, oh, you could eliminate it later on. No, let me eliminate it early on, because it's like, when I say early on, like 30, 40 turns at most, right? And how they would handle supplies then, that's, I guess, the concern. That's the thing that they would have to answer, right? How they would handle military supplies. Different discussion altogether there, but I think like things do need to change with respect to this. So now we're condemned, and we got some more Imperial supplies. So we get more Grenadiers, more Hellstorms, or we can get Great Swords, Huntsmen, and I'm just gonna go for more more of these boys. Why not? And just add them to the pool, by the way, because you can get up to 20 in the pool. It's crazy. I mean, look at the units I have here. I have handgunners, I have outriders, I have halberdiers. I have a good amount of stuff over here. And like the higher I go, and this is not even the final form, really, of what I can achieve in this particular campaign. This is just, you know, dipping my toes into the water level, so to speak.
Morathi.
Markus
during the course of a campaign. I guess one of the more important decisions you're gonna make is like what are you gonna do with respect to Morathi and Estancia. Because like in this case, you know, I might get the declaration of war from I might get the declaration of war from Estancia, who's managed to wipe out Morathi in this campaign by the looks of it. Okay, that's an interesting one. So, go Mother Estancia. It can happen. Thankfully, you're not interested in her territory at all, so it's like, okay. Like, it's kind of weird. Sometimes Morathi wins, many times, like, I've seen Estancia win. It's kind of a flip of a coin. At least finally we have some faction right now to actually genuinely defeat Morathi. Because I think I can speak for a lot of people that played against Morathi in Warhammer 2. Yeah, screw that. Like, Morathi would invade Ulfuan on herself and she might win on herself. That was level of bullshit. While Malekith was just spending his entire campaign doing absolutely nothing. Or very, very little. Just chilling out in the north, letting his mom do all the work for him. I guess that would probably be appropriate, wouldn't it?
I'm bidden not to destroy you. I should cut you down.
Alright, so 2 turns. I think she'll survive for 2 more turns.
for the Empire. The Emperor grants this pardon. Increase the pace. Let's go.
And now move this army right here to prepare ourselves for war against these fellows. And actually get nothing. Just wait. Yeah, so you do have a huge level of power early on, but you're also going to have significant limitations in this campaign that are just going to slow you down. But just because you get Imperial supplies, flat out means that you will actually end up stronger than the others, with the exception of Volkmar. And only because of the freaking global benefits that the Books of Nagash do actually give him. Not so much for the dwarves, I suppose. Rakarth is a problem. Who would have thunk that Rakarth would become a major issue? You don't necessarily need to worry about him. You got other fish to potentially fry. But it could be a way of making an alliance with Albrecht if you declared war on the same faction. And then you split Lustria in 3 between yourself, Jan Bo, and Albrecht. I guess the Reconquista is in full swing over here, over Lustria. Put the lizards in their place. And then the final confrontation ends up being with Rakarth, because Dark Elves are Dark Elves under the control of the AI. Just be prepared for that. Huntsmen don't necessarily have the best armor piercing, and Dark Elves have a huge amount of units with high level of armor. Well, what do I know?
It shall be done.
In terms of your campaign plan early on, one of the things you may want to do, like in terms of your campaign plan, what I would sincerely suggest is this. Alright, let's get the Imperial University. Alright, so an enemy force has appeared. Let's get the Great Hellstorm and the Great Cannon. There we go. Then start getting warrior priests and captains.
Hell, Sigmar's sons.
He's done.
And get some money over there.
Dominating.
He won't give me...
No deals.
What do you want?
Okay.
Shadows gather about you. Think before speaking. Agreement.
And that's the problem. You do start with that non-aggression pact over there. So the first thing you might want to do is break it.
I don't agree.
As quickly as possible.
Fall in.
And now we got all of the hunters over here in this campaign. We just need to get access to iron, capture a particular settlement. That Albrecht might have just taken control over. It just might be worth it to go to war against Albrecht. What do I know?
Only the dedicated. Step to it.
But it is an idea. Get witch hunters over here. Stonecutter.
Morathi.
So you'll end up with a good amount of cash, good amount of units, good amount of army variety, actual choices, and hey, you want to go to Ulfwan with your armies? Go for it. You know what? You don't even need to be conquering Ulfwan. You can just go and say, oh, well, I'm gonna liberate it from Noctilus, because Noctilus is likely gonna have the west coast of Ulfwan, so you end up in an alliance with Tyrion, and Alariel, and Elfarion. And then it's like, well, you can do whatever the hell you want for the rest of your campaign. The climate limitations are a bit annoying, but there is plenty of jungle on the campaign map, and there's plenty of islands on the campaign map as well. Your objectives in a campaign like the territory you want to control are more dictated by, like, you know, buffing those kind of heroes in a campaign more so than anything else, I would argue. But you do want to go for Hexoatl early on. You don't want to leave Mazdamundi to build up a massive army, because as annoying as he is to deal with that early on, and as annoying as Kebie is when you manage to defeat Mazdamundi before he's beaten crap out of Kebie, as annoying as both of those can be in a campaign, undeniably so, it's worse if you leave Mazdamundi to take over the entire north and build massive armies and actually get something like Lord Croak in his campaign. You don't want to fight Lord Croak. I don't know how common it is, but it can happen, so just be aware.
Yes. Time to move. Protect
Rare, to be sure, but possible. Very, very freaking possible. During the course of any campaign. So now I'm just waiting for that army to show up.
Yes.
And hoping to restore hostility over here. Oh, greenskins. What would what I would like to see changed in this campaign would be less annoyance with hostility. What I'd like to see changed in the Empire is easier access to artillery. Thank you. That would actually be such a game fucking changer if you could get like cannons at tier 2 as opposed to waiting until tier 4. I mean, it's just a cannon. It should be the most basic artillery unit that you can get access to, because it would be such a game changer for the sake of sieges. Yes, I know, Gelt starts with a cannon, Markus Wulfhart can get one relatively early on, but just producing cannons should be something available early on. And Hellstorms at tier 3, just saying. So maybe mortars and cannons at tier 2, Hellstorms at tier 3. You can have steam tags at tier 4 if you want to, not tier 5. That would be my perspective on that. Also better climate situation and less annoying mechanics in every freaking campaign that we get to deal with. Because right now, we got annoying mechanics in every single Imperial campaign. So your plan is, by the way, you start over here against the Skaven. You can defeat the Skaven army and then force march all the way to the border and take the High Sentinel as quickly as possible. But that will leave the Skaven alive. You can defeat the Skaven and start recruiting a secondary army over here. That you will then use to take the Sentinel. Because Yanbo starts sufficiently far enough that he's not really going to be too much of an issue over there from the very beginning of your campaign. So those are the kind of choices you can make. Once you sort everything else out, once you've gotten your boats and your economy in order in the territory you want in order, that's when things get
I
interesting.
am the cold agreement.
Armored in faith.
Oh, Marafi is launching a counter. Of course she would. The moment I defeat her, the moment that I feel Estanque is defeated, is defeated her, is the moment things turn around, don't they? That's just how it goes there.
Age and wisdom.
Truth be told, Marafi should end up losing. It's just taking her capital is going to possibly be an issue. Although, you never know. Oh, I was severely underestimating that situation. Truce, Marafi? Oh, boy. Sometimes you just make one stupid decision after another.
Onwards.
Maybe the best thing is to just let them fight and you intervene at the end. Maybe that would just be the best course of action. Or intervene against Marafi in favor of Estanque. What do I know about that? One of the things I know for certain is that if you're going to try and make an ally of Marafi, you're going to piss off Wulfhart. So if you want to end up fighting the entirety of Wulfhart, which you can in this campaign, and it would work, you got to love those guys that have Island Paradise, that they have Wulfhart as ideal climate in their campaigns, because it just makes things absurd. If you take Wulfhart as any campaign, as any legendary lord, you end up with such an absurd level of power. If it is good climate for you, you end up with such an absurd level of power because it's highly defensible. No endgame crisis begins there.
The expedition was created to destroy.
There's no real
evil
endgame
such
crisis over there of any kind of description. So it's like safe, secure. It's like no one's gonna bother you, no one's gonna annoy you. Incredible campaign area to be dealing with in more ways than one.
On the hunt. Draw first blood.
And I guess they defeated the
Champion of the
Greenskins.
faith. Unflinching.
Praise be to Sigma. The Empire. I'll ignore
I
that.
suppose so.
Markus, Wulfhart. Move, comrades.
Warrior of Sigma.
And now you just start praying that you can manage this constant breeze of annoyance during the course of your campaign. Because it will be annoying.
Good trick.
Having to deal with constant rebellions. Though Rakarfis is going to beat the shit out of Albrecht, as it should be. I don't expect anything else from that. Though Albrecht doesn't much like you, does he, in his campaign? Can't imagine why.
Markus, Wulfhart.
Well, you can at least get good post-battle loot, mobility, triangulation. And then you can level these guys up in a fairly good way. If you manage to complete their particular objectives. It is a big if, isn't it? If you do manage it. But if you do succeed in that early game situation, you can take control over all of Lustria and then do whatever you want. Cosine signing out.